This is a review of Ken Loach's film Bread and Roses. Director Ken Loach's film Bread and Roses tells the story of immigrant janitors who organize a union and strike against their employer in order to get better wages, benefits, and dignity. However, the film is about more than just a strike. What the film does is to challenge the myths and common sense that is propagated about immigrants in the media and society. The film supports the challenge to myths about immigrations as described by afl-cio in her book They Take Our Jobs. The myths about immigrants are challenged in three specific areas: immigrants won't learn English, immigrants don't pay taxes, and that unions oppose immigrants because they harm American workers. There's a swirl of controversy about immigrants. According to Professor Chomsky, immigrants are blamed for a host of social ills. The idea of blaming for social ills does not just come out of thin air, but has been widely propagated in U.S. society. These beliefs about immigrants are formed by our social studies and history classes, by our textbooks, by our politicians, and by our media. Indeed, they are so pervasive that they almost penetrate the air we breathe. The views about immigrants accepted by many U.S. citizens are thus actively promoted. Yet views about immigrants, are also fundamentally distorted. So are our views about immigrants distorted? How exactly to explain this phenomenon? The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci sought to explain such a phenomenon by the concept of common sense. Common sense' most fundamental characteristic is that it is a conception which, even in the brain of one individual, is fragmentary, incoherent, and inconsequential, in conformity with the social and cultural position of those masses whose philosophy it is. What Gramsci means by common sense is that it is the belief in one's mind of a conception of the world that is often fragmentary and based on half-truths. Common sense about immigrants often results in the many myths that have come to be accepted, i.e., immigrants take our jobs, and are fed back to society through the media and other institutions. Professor Chomsky sought to challenge the myths and common sense about immigrants in her book. However, she is not alone in undertaking this challenge. Director Ken Loach has challenged the common sense about immigrants in his film. One of the most well-known myths about immigrants accepted by society is that they won't learn English. However, there is an overwhelming desire to learn English among immigrants. According to Professor Chomsky, in a recent study, almost 60% of English as a second language learning providers in the United States reported significant waiting lists, some up to 3 years. This statistic seems to belie the claim that immigrants refuse to learn English. If the myth were true, then there would be no waiting list at all for these programs. Loach's film also demonstrates that English immigrants actually do want to learn English. The film's characters are mostly Latino immigrants who are working at Angel Cleaners as janitors under exploitive conditions. There's a scene in the film when three of the characters are waiting for their shift to begin. One of the characters, Ruben, is copying words and translating them from a textbook and is helped by his coworker Maya. Another worker, Juan, complains. He spent 3 years like this, coming in early. Maya looks up and tells him, "Try helping him. You can learn something." Ruben then shakes his head. He copies everything from the book. To Maya and Ruben, learning English is seen as desirable, and they spend their free time doing it. This whole scene flies in the face of the myth that immigrants aren't learning English. Ruben is spending his free time translating because he hopes to go to college and become an attorney. In another scene, Ruben and Maya go to a local college. Ruben then shows Maya a receipt and says, "I've been waiting for this since I came to this country. I just have to pay $1,600 for college, and the scholarship will pay for the rest." Out of 800, they pick one. Guess who it was? Ruben was that one recipient, and he has been working hard at English because he knows he'll need it at school. Later on, Ruben is unable to make the final payment at school to guarantee his scholarship. He thinks that there will be no calls for him. Maya steals the remainder of the money and pays the bill. Maya shows Ruben the receipt and says, "If you don't become the most important attorney in the country, I will never forgive you." Ruben is nearly crying. "I don't know what to tell you." Maya smiles. "Go to school." The portrait of Ruben presented here is a dedicated person who recognizes the importance of English and spends years studying in order to get ahead. This myth, exposed by Chomsky in the print and Loach on film, flies in the face of the common sense on immigration. Another myth challenges that immigrants don't pay taxes. According to Professor Chomsky, immigrants, no matter what their status, pay the same taxes that citizens do: sales taxes, real estate taxes, gasoline taxes. Yet these taxes are not the only ones in the U.S. There are also income taxes, Social Security payments, and others. Many undocumented workers in the U.S. present false papers such as Social Security numbers in order to work. The only ones who lose anything when workers use a false Social Security number are the workers themselves. Taxes are deducted from their paychecks, but if they are undocumented, they still have no access to the benefits they are paying for, like Social Security or unemployment benefits. Immigrant workers are paying many of the same taxes as citizens without any of the benefits. This comes out very clearly in Loach's film. When Maya first arrives in the United States, she comes across the border without papers and goes to Angel Cleaners for a job. Maya's sister helps her to get an interview as a janitor. When Maya meets with Perez, the manager, she tells him, "Thanks for this chance, Mr. Perez." Perez makes her feel guilty. "You don't know how lucky you are. I get letters begging to work here. I'll arrange paperwork. Decent paperwork, and I'll charge a commission for it." I ask, "What kind of commission?" Perez answers, "Your first month's salary, but we'll split it over 2 months. Not only is Maya going to be paying into the system and getting no benefits back due to her papers, assuming she'll get them, but she has to pay a commission." This scene is not the myth of an immigrant paying no taxes, but the exact opposite. The myth of immigrants paying no taxes is also contradicted by the character of Rosa. Rosa is Maya's sister and cares for an ailing husband and 2 young children, along with paying her other bills. Although Rosa works at Angel for 16 hours a day and has papers due to Perez, she gets nothing back. The lack of services for Rosa and her harsh life make her distrustful of others. According to Professor Chomsky, undocumented immigrants aren't eligible for most public services and live in fear of revealing themselves to any government authorities. For instance, when the union organizer Sam comes to Rosa's home and tries to convince her to join up, she refuses. Rosa says, "Who'll pay the rent if I'm on the blacklist?" Sam is unable to convince her to join in the union. Rosa starts screaming, "I don't believe in nobody." Rosa has no social service, even though she pays into the system and has been exploited by the employers of Angel Cleaners. It's very easy not to believe in anybody when you keep paying more than your fair share and receive nothing in return. Later in the film, the condition of Rosa's husband worsens and she needs cash to pay for the doctor's bills. It's during this time that the janitors are organizing a union and the company wants to know the names of the workers who are attending meetings. Rosa tells Perez the names of those who attend the meetings in exchange for promotion and extra money. When Maya finds out what happens, she confronts her sister and says, "You bitch. Why, Ella, your friend, Dolores, and Ben." Rosa is very calm. "It was me, and I'd do it again. I won't stand around and wait with my arms crossed while my husband's dying, waiting to be on a waiting list. It's not a fucking fairy tale." For Rosa, life is far from being a fairy tale. She's been put in an awful position of having to pay for medical bills in the midst of a strike by selling out her coworkers, or watch her husband die by sticking to her principles. Like in another film, El Norte, Rosa becomes both the victim and the perpetrator. Rosa costs many of her friends their jobs by selling out, but at the same time, she is a victim. Rosa has paid taxes through her papers, gained through a commission from Perez, but she gets little or nothing in return. Rosa shows the common sense that immigrants not paying taxes is far from the truth. In fact, the situation many immigrants, such as Rosa, are actually in is quite tragic. The third myth connected with immigration is that unions oppose immigration because immigration harms U.S. workers. There's an element of truth in this myth, though. Unions in the United States have not always opposed immigration. The mainstream movement in the United States did until the 1990s. Organized labor has a darker side that has not always sought to organize immigrants, but has in fact shown itself to be downright hostile to them. According to Professor Chomsky, the American Federation of Labor has advocated restrictions on immigration. These positions are quite in keeping with its orientation as an exclusionist, craft-oriented organization committed to a dual labor market. This exclusionist attitude of the AFL and later the afl-cio carried on from the late 1800s into the 1990s. Part of the change that came over organized labor was the onslaught of the Reagan era. Reagan pushed back on the social services and the power of labor unions. Concurrent with the Reagan onslaught on labor, there was a process of deindustrialization that came across the U.S. economy. According to Professor Chomsky, immigrants to the United States today face a very different picture. They are entering a society in the throes of deindustrialization, with the last manufacturing jobs are quickly evaporating. Coupled with the deindustrialization, there's been a shift in places of employment for immigrant laborers, service sectors such as Angel Cleaners. The service sector jobs that employ most new immigrants share many characteristics with factory work at the beginning of the century: low pay, little security, dangerous working conditions, and a lack of regulation. When Sam meets with Rosa at her home, he describes the conditions for a janitor in 1999 compared to 1982. In 1982, you made $8 an hour plus benefits. In 1999, you make $5.75 plus nothing. The deterioration is quite evident for the workers of Angel. However, the changes in the economy have not just shifted where immigrant workers such as Maya and Rosa are employed. The deindustrialization has also sending unions for a tailspin. Union membership took a steep decline with the loss of their traditional manufacturing base and the assault of Reagan. A change was desperately needed for unions to survive in a new economy. A major part of this change was to organize immigrant workers who had long been frowned on but were filling the expanding service sectors. After a long history of lining up with the bosses on the question of immigration restrictions, the afl-cio reversed its position in 1999, calling for a general amnesty in the right of all workers, documented or not, to form unions. The SEIU, or the Service Employees International Union, which Sam works for but has also benefited from the general changes in organized labor, is launching aggressive organizing campaigns that have made it the largest union in the United States. The union members, 1.8 million, with two-thirds of them made up of immigrants. One example of aggressive organizing by SEIU has been Janitors for Justice campaign. In the 1980s, as Los Angeles companies dumped union cleaners, they turned to a largely immigrant labor force. SEIU fought back and organized the first Justice for Janitors campaign in response. Immigrant cleaning workers poured into the streets, confronting building owners and the LAPD in the famous battle in Century City. The union eventually won new contracts covering 4,000 members. The militancy shown during these earlier strikes is carried on by Sam and the Angel Cleaners during their own battle. Furthermore, the Angel workers are linked very explicitly to the history of the Justice for Janitors during their own strike. Several workers are gathered in a union hall, are presented with a video of a previous strike in 1990. The video, entitled Justice for Janitors, shows largely immigrant workers on a street protest who are attacked by the police. The striking workers cringe when the narrator describes that 50 strikers were arrested, 60 ended up in the hospital, and a pregnant woman miscarried. The Angel workers were told that they were going to discuss the film once it was over. The discussion no doubt touched on how unions are very much a part of an ongoing fight. It is a fight that the Angel Cleaners carry on throughout the movie. The SEIU, as portrayed in the film, does not blame the immigrants for harming U.S. workers. In fact, Sam makes the case several times that blame should be directed upward, not downward. When one of the workers at Angel was fired for being late, Sam is invited to speak to the janitors. In front of the workers, he says, "This building is one of the most important buildings in Los Angeles. Angel Cleaners is one of the biggest cleaning contractors in the U.S. They're able to outbid union cleaners. Do you know how they do that? They cut your wages." One of the workers then speaks up. They don't pay health insurance. Clearly, Sam and the SEIU are not targeting immigrants as the problem, but companies such as Angel. In another scene, the janitors and the SEIU have led a march to the main building of Angel Cleaners. In a major rally, Sam addresses the workers. "Today is a great day. We're going to let the owners know that this strike continues until you get your jobs back. I salute your courage because it takes a lot. We're fighting for health care, for respect at work. We're fighting for bread and roses, too. You want all the beautiful things in life. No one will give you roses for nothing. You know how you get roses? You stop begging and you organize a labor movement that is strong enough to compete with powerful companies controlling our lives. Stand up for your rights." This speech ends with a loud applause from the gathered workers. Far from casting blame on the immigrant workers, Sam sees them as allies who can help build a powerful labor movement. The common sense about immigrants, as propagated by the institutions of society, takes many forms, such as immigrants take our jobs, immigrants pay no taxes, or unions oppose immigrants. These myths about immigrants have been challenged by Avi Chomsky and They Take Our Jobs, and also by Ken Loach in Bread and Roses. The book and the movie, both in their own way, peel back the myths of common sense